Hi everyone, you all must be knowing that toy cars come in different varieties. The most common ones are the one in which you push them and they continue due to inertia, and then finally frictional forces will bring them to stop. Then we have the other ones which are called pull back toy cars, in which you push the tires onto the ground and then you pull them backwards. As you do that, there is a coil inside the car which acts like a spring. So as you pull the car back, the spring gets twisted, which stores potential energy, and then when you release the car, that potential energy gets converted to kinetic energy, which allows the toy car to go much farther. Now my son has a car which I found that if you push forward and then leave, it goes much farther. So I was surprised. So I opened it and I found that there are no springs or coils. So I was thinking, what is getting stored here? What energy is getting stored? Clearly there is no potential energy getting stored because there is no spring or coil. Then I came to know that what is actually getting stored here is kinetic energy. So in such cars, we are not converting potential energy to kinetic energy, but we are converting kinetic energy into kinetic energy. But how are we going to do that? Today's video is about that. To understand the working of such toy cars, we need to learn about gear ratio. But before that, let us ask ourselves, what do we actually mean by angle? Let us consider these two concentric circles. Between these two lines, if you observe the arc length for this circle, it is this much, right? And between the same two lines, the arc length for the second circle is this much. These two are your arc length. Now the radius for this is this much and the radius for the outer circle is this much. So I hope it is very clear that between these two lines, for these two lines, if the radius is increased, the arc length also increases, right? As I increase the radius from here to here, the arc length also increases from here to here. So if I give the symbol S for arc length and R for radius, it is very clear that for these two lines, your arc length is proportional to radius, isn't it? For these two lines, remember. So therefore, whenever two quantities are proportional, we write some constant here, and that constant we can give a name, right? Just like current is proportional to voltage, we give the constant the name as resistance. So similarly, for these two lines, your arc length is proportional to radius, as you can observe. Therefore, the constant which comes for these two lines, that constant is what we call as angle. So this is how angles are defined. So angle between these two lines would be given by arc length by radius. Now consider this disc which is rotating this way. So this line, if I draw on the disc at time 0, if this line is here, then after some time this line will cover some angle, right? And that angle I have given theta. So a point on the disc will travel from here to here. So this is the distance covered by a point on the disc. Therefore, this distance divided by the time taken from here to here, that would be your speed, which we write the symbol v. And if you divide the angle covered by the time, we call this as angular speed, and we write it as the letter omega. So what is the difference between speed and angular speed? The speed is giving you how much distance or how many meters it covers per second. And what does angular speed gives? It gives you how much angle it covers per second. Now, how to find a relation between this and this? Very simple. Just now we learned that this arc length S, is equal to angle times radius, where r represents this radius. Right? Just now we have seen this formula. Let us divide both the sides by time taken from 0 to t. So time taken is t. So this is nothing but speed of this point. Angle by time is your angular speed and r is your radius. So this relation is something which is very important for understanding the concept of gear ratio. Before we continue, let me quickly explain the concept of no slipping between two surfaces. So if I have two surfaces which are in contact, and if this is moving faster than this one, then obviously there will be slipping. So it is very clear that for two surfaces not to slip, they must move with the same speed in the same direction. In other words, we can say they should move with same velocity. Let us consider these two discs. The first one has radius r1 and it is rotating with angular speed omega 1. The second one is larger, radius is r2, is rotating with angular speed omega 2. Now, if I say at the point of contact, there is no slipping at the point of contact, then what does it mean? Just now we discussed, it means the velocity of this point on this disc must be equal to velocity of this point on this disc. And we already have seen formula for velocity in terms of angular velocity or angular speed, right? What is the formula? r1 omega 1 and this is r2 omega 2, right? Okay. Now observe this equation. Let me write an example of this equation. 2 into 4 is equal to 8 into 1. So observe this equation. If this number is greater than this number, then this number is smaller than this number, right? So similarly, in this diagram, if you observe, I have taken R2 greater than R1. So this number is greater than this number. Then it means this number omega 2 will be smaller than this omega. Right? That means which one will be rotating faster? The smaller one or the bigger one? You can see omega 1 has greater angular speed. Therefore, this will rotate faster than this one. So keep this in mind that when two discs are in contact and they both are rotating in such a way that there is no slipping at this point, then the smaller disc will always rotate faster. Now, how can I make sure that there is no slipping at this point? Usually we do that by using gears. So in gears we will put teeth on this ring, something like this. Okay, so let me show you in real. So you can see here, okay, there is teeth in the perimeter of this disc, right? So something like this is formed so that when these two will rotate like this, when one rotates, the other one will also rotate. And because of the teeth or the tooth, there will be no slipping. So we have seen that when two gears or two discs are made to rotate in such a way that there is no slipping at the point of contact, then the smaller disc will rotate faster. And the relation between the angular speed is given by r1 omega 1 equals r2 omega 2. Now, consider this gear system which is found in the toy cars which we are discussing. The wheels, let us say, is made to rotate with angular speed omega 1, which I have taken 2 rps. rps means rotations per second. So the wheel is made to rotate 2 times in 1 second. Now observe that this axle is attached to the wheel. So if the wheel rotates with this much angular speed, the axle and therefore this gear will also rotate with the same angular speed. So when the wheels rotate with this much angular speed, this gear which is attached to the same axle will also rotate with same angular speed. Now, since this smaller gear is in contact with the larger gear, you know that this will rotate faster, right? We have seen already. So how much will be the angular speed of this one? Let us say omega 2. And how these two are connected? Well, the formula we have seen, R1 omega 1 equals R2 omega 2. Now, the radius of this is obviously bigger than this. Let's say it is 5 times the smaller one. So if I assume the radius of this is 5 times the smaller one, then you see 5 into omega 1 is 2 equals omega 2. So therefore, the angular speed of gear 2 will be 5 times 2 is 10 rps. So it's fantastic, right? When the wheels rotate with 2 rotations per second angular speed, this gear will rotate with 10 rps, matlab 10 rotations per second. Now this axle is attached to this gear now. So therefore, whatever is the angular speed of this, same will be angular speed of this also, exactly like in this case. So because of this axle, this will also have angular speed omega 2. Now observe that this is attached to this gear, right? It is in contact. So this will now rotate even faster than this, isn't it? So let us say this has angular speed omega 3. What would be the relation between this and this? That would be omega 2 radius of this, let me write as R2 equals omega 3 and radius of this, omega 3 radius of this, right? Now the radius of this is again bigger than this, so omega 2 now in this case, okay, not in this case. So in this case your R2 is bigger than R3. Let me again assume R2 is 5 times R3. So R2 is 5 times R3. So R3 gets cancelled. Omega 2 is 10. So if I substitute here 10, what is my omega 3? So my omega 3 is coming 50 rps. Right? That means what? That means when the wheels are made to rotate with angular speed 2 rotations per second, this gear, and therefore you see this gear is attached to this flywheel, which is basically a disc only, through this axle. So if this rotates with angular speed omega 3, this disc will also rotate with angular speed omega 3. So a rotations of 2 rotation per second is converted to how many rotations? 50 rotations per second. So that is a huge increase in the angular speed, right? Let me show you the flywheel. So it looks something like this. Okay, this part is called the flywheel. Fine. So in the demonstration, you must have observed that when the wheels are made to rotate by a small amount, the flywheel rotates by a large amount, right? And thus what it means basically is if you now push the toy car onto the ground, the wheels will rotate, but the flywheels will rotate much faster. So therefore, even after the wheels stop rotating, the flywheel will continue to rotate. And thus, when you keep the car back on the ground, the rotation of the flywheel will again make all the gears rotate, and that is how the wheels will go forward. And that is how the kinetic energy of the flywheel is converted into kinetic energy of the car. Finally, for the physics lovers, I have mentioned some formulae. This is the kinetic energy of a rotating flywheel, which is given by half I omega square. I is the moment of inertia, omega is the angular speed which we have seen before. The moment of inertia of a flywheel in the form of a disc is given by half m r square. M is the mass, r is the radius. Now all these formulae are derived in first PU physics. If you observe the flywheel, it looks more heavier than the gears. If you observe this gear, for example, it is plastic, whereas this flywheel is more metallic. So the mass of flywheel is more than the gears. Similarly, the radius, the size of this flywheel is largest among all the gears. So radius is large, mass is large. That means moment of inertia of the flywheel will be more than the gears, which again means what? If moment of inertia is more, the flywheel has the ability to store more kinetic energy, right?